All right. So hopefully everybody, again, is here for learning about chatbots and how to get started with them. You will have the opportunity, as I'm going through, if you'd like to go through it with me and do some work with the service, you can. Otherwise, you can just watch me do it, and we'll help each other build a bot. Just to preface, I'm going to go through the metrics and the measures first, and then I'll do it a second time, and that's the part where you can follow along. I find repetition works really well. So I am Stefania Kaczmarczyk. I am a developer advocate for IBM, and I specialize in making learning about our products fun. So today we're going to be doing no-code bot building with Watson Conversation. First, I like to start out by level setting everybody on what is a bot and what is a chatbot. So bots are a way to automate tasks. They take something that's repetitive and make it so that I don't have to do it anymore. Chatbots, on the other hand, use conversational aspects to communicate with a user. So in this case, we're actually going to be using natural language processing. Some people just build, say, a database, and you can go through and compare the answers. So chatbots are a kind of bot in which they take the repetitive action of having to talk to somebody and make it automated. But they're not quite a bot in that they're not necessarily based solely on the programming. Their emphasis is more on language. So just level setting on that. And again, for everybody in here, if you'd like to access my slides, the link is at the top of every slide in this deck. And you can use them for reference later if you'd like to work with the service. OK, so what's going on with the bot revolution? So has anybody here ever used Lyft from Facebook? One person. Anybody ever know that they could use Lyft from Facebook? OK, so what happens, I discovered this on accident one day, is that my friend said, hey, can you meet me here at this ramen shop up in San Francisco? And she put the address in there, and suddenly I have a little side bubble that says, would you like to call a Lyft? I was like, OK, well, for science, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. So I clicked on the button. The app, without ever opening up my Lyft app, went ahead and called for a Lyft for me. And I was like, OK, cool. Do I need to open the app now? OK. Well, then a few seconds later, another Facebook Messenger bubble pops up with the Lyft chatbot telling me, hey, your driver is on his way. We're going to keep you updated in this window as things happen, and you don't have to worry about anything. And so after the ride ended, I opened up my Lyft app, and sure enough, it did everything. I could pull my receipt out if I needed to. So bots are slowly worming their way into everything we're doing. And it's about making people's lives easier. Another instance of a bot, this is kind of a funny one. Some students at Georgia Tech discovered at the end of their artificial intelligence course that one of their TAs was not real. So you can't really read the jargon too much. And this was created by the professors and TAs at Georgia Tech, so we actually didn't create this ourselves. They used the Watson natural language classifier and dialog to help the students remember to turn in their coursework, to get their assignments done, but they also had a little bit of a human aspect. So at one point, a student, they quoted it saying, he asked, I don't think I did really well on that last conversation piece. Is there any way I can go in and redo it? And the bot replies, well, no, unfortunately, you can't go back in and edit submitted answers, right? Sounds like any other TA in the world. Well, at the end of the semester, they found out that this was completely driven by a bot. And just to keep the charade going, the other TAs kept their jargon and their language very neutral so that you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference. All right, so today, I'm going to be talking about the Watson Conversation Service. We're actually going to be building a bot by the end of this. And if you'd like to go along with me, I will show you how to do it once first, and then we'll do it together a second time, kind of get a feel for where everything is at. The Watson Conversation Service was the result of combining our natural language classifier and dialog. A lot of people wanted to build bots. And why is that? So if you'd like to go along with me, I encourage you right now to go to bluemix.net and register for an account if you haven't already. And I'm going to keep going while you're doing that. OK, so I'm going to actually break away here a second, and I'm going to deploy the service so you kind of see how it goes. And then we're going to start bashing out some code. So once you have registered for a Bluemix account, all you have to do is go to the catalog, and click on the Watson section, and select the conversation service. Or you can also use the search bar at the top and just type in conversation. I'm going to keep everything simple since I don't need anything unique for a service. I'm going to create it. Give it a little bit of a second to get running. And then from here, I have a nice little informative section and a button that allows me to launch the dashboard for the service. Log in again. And if you get that screen, it should, if you click log in, it should do it for you. All right, so we have a service deployed. That's the first step. So for all of you, if you maybe caught up with me on that one, you don't have to. Start bashing out some code, right? Pretty simple, right? Actually, I lied. Just kidding, you don't have to code at all. So one thing we've learned in creating a conversational-like service is it really helps if how you create the service is also conversational, right? So we simplified the process of building these bots. Now, whether you look at Amazon Alexa, whether you look at Microsoft's botnet framework, I think is what it's called, or you look at ours, they all kind of have the same basic syntax for how you're building these conversations. And one thing you have to learn from the beginning is that you know nothing about language. So I actually have I did the whole 4-year degree in English, and I found myself stumbling over what I was writing, how people would have communicated. We had to take an entire class on how the tongue moves in the mouth to form words. I never thought that would be important until suddenly I'm having to consider what people are saying, how they're saying it, when they choose to pause. And if my hair hits that. So one thing you have to go into with this is kind of dropping all of your preconceptions about language, dropping the things that you hold on to, and embracing the fact that everybody communicates in such a wide and beautiful way. So to get working with that kind of language is you have a few basic structures. So the first one is don't ask them to repeat themselves too much. Let's start out in the audience. What's your name? Is that your name? Are you sure that's your name? How annoying is it that I asked you to repeat yourself 8 times? Exactly. When you first build your conversation, we like to call it long tail and short. With the long tail, you want to build the longest path through the conversation. You start out with nothing, and they need hand-holding through each little response until you get where you need them to be. Then you start working through ways to take out points in the conversation. So you may start out asking them to confirm everything, right? I just want to make sure I get it right. Well, then you realize, you know what, I don't need to confirm this. I got this down. I can remove this part of the conversation. The more conversational it is and the less sort of rote it is, the better your conversation. Confirm details. Now, I did say to confirm, but not to repeat too much. So one example I had to deal with recently, we built an insurance bot to help people work through their insurance documents. Anybody in here can tell me what their deductible is for dental off the top of their heads? Exactly. So we built a bot to try and tackle that issue, helping people to get the information they need to file their claims and to do all that without having to deal with somebody on the phone or without having to scour through their documents. Trust me, I tried to find it and mine took way too long. So you want to confirm certain details. And in doing that with the insurance bot, one thing I had to ask when they filed the claim is for them to enter the date. Can anybody in here tell me the one date structure that is impossible to parse with code? Any idea? I'll give you about 2 seconds to figure it out. All right, so when you do the /date structure, you have month, month, day, day. But in some countries, not the United States, it's day, day, month, month. Now, for most of those, actually none of them actually, if you get into the 19th, anything past 12, you can kind of tell. But in that sweet spot between the numbers 1 through 12, how do I know which is a month and how do I know which is a day? So one thing we did is I reformatted the date they entered, and I said, is September 1st, 2016 correct? If they say no, I asked them to re-enter the date, and I gave them the structure I needed. So I want you to enter it as month, month, dash, day, day, dash, 4 year. Kind of coaxing them into giving them what I need, but understanding that there are some answers, some responses that are going to be very hard to figure out unless you can pull something like their location and really hope that that's where they were born, and they don't like to just write the date a completely different way. Get to the point. So I said about your long tail. Really, most of the time, people just want to get straight to an answer. So when, in the insurance example, they're going to ask me, I need some information, OK? What do you need information on? My vision plan. And you keep walking them through that. But most people are going to say, you know what, I need new glasses. And they want to know what their deductible is, how much they have to spend, what the information is for that. So find ways where you can take that long tail and make it short. Get them straight to the point so that they don't get frustrated, again, having to go through the repetition process. And always, the best part is to remember details about a user. I call up American Airlines. Not only does their little phone bot pronounce my name correctly, which if you saw my name on the first slide, I challenge any of you to say it correctly in here. You know, adult humans can't do that. But it makes me feel special. It makes me feel important. They've remembered my phone number. They know details about me. If you have access to a user's account information, no matter how little or how much, something as simple as using their name will make them feel more personalized, less like they're just another number in the crowd. Now we're going to get into those building blocks I mentioned that are pretty common across all. So if you go out to build an LX application, you'll notice that it says start building intents. An intent is kind of a verb, but a little bit more than that. It's what a user is going to want to do. So when I say, what's the weather, I'm asking about weather. Or maybe I just want to get information. You kind of want to figure out what the verbs are for what they're going to ask so you can separate them out. So if somebody says, hey, I want some pizza, they either want to order or they want to find the nearest location for pizza. I have to distinguish between which one that is. And I have to decide what I want that to be for my application. On the right, you can see, we're going to go into this in a little bit, I have order. And I'm actually doing a coffee shop for this one. So within the Watson conversation service, I will define an intent, which is order, and then I will start putting in example user phrases. Now, as you're working with the service, the users are going to have phrases that maybe aren't in this list. This is where you get into the training aspect. The best thing you can do when building a chatbot is to have a log. Whether you're logging it to a database, to a file on a system, try and keep track of what users are asking and what you're responding. So you can go back through and see, OK, what's going on here? What decisions am I making? Yes?
Just to mention, that's a huge flaw of Amazon's Alexa service, because if you're a dev, they don't give you any information on what people are actually saying.
Right, so he said in the front that that's one of the flaws he's found with the Alexa service is they don't really give you information about what users are submitting. So it's definitely important that you understand what's being asked, because how can I make a better chatbot if I don't know if somebody in Japan has a completely different, completely different sentence structure than what I'm used to. You make better bots by understanding your users. The next part of building a conversation are entities. And again, I'll show you these in a second within the application itself. An entity is a noun. I find it to be a noun. And it's going to be all the variations for that word. So on the right-hand side, you can see I have coffee. And I have a value of regular coffee. Now, you may go up to a Starbucks. You in the front. When you order coffee, what do you say? Give me a latte. OK. In the back, what would you say? I want a small drip. That's actually not in my list. Thank you. How about you? I want a mocha latte. Small drip is actually the one I'm going to focus on here. Because as you can see in my list, I have regular coffee. Right? To me, a small drip is actually regular coffee. Some people say, I want a black coffee. I want a plain coffee. I just want coffee. All those people that are frustrated with all the flavors they get at Starbucks, that's that guy. I want a latte. I actually haven't found any synonyms for that made sense. But if anybody comes up with one, feel free to hit me up. You're going to spend a lot of time in the thesaurus if you really want to make this as good as it can be. So with entities, you're going to think of what you want these to map to. So for my insurance example, I have an entire entity for procedures. I have vision procedures. So I want eyeglasses, eyewear, eye exam. I want all of that to map to vision. But I also have a sub-entity for eye exam. I want every variation that somebody might say for that so I can pick it up. And you'll start adding more and more to these, again, as your users are interacting with your chatbot. Then we get into building the dialog itself. So I'm going to switch over and show you how to build this. And again, I'm going to do this first, and then we're going to do it together because we're going to pick a bot to build. So here's my Watson conversation service. With each one of them, you open it up. I don't actually have to have an application with code attached to it right now. I can do all of my bot development for the most part. We'll get into the edge cases on that in a minute, completely from this dashboard. So within this version of the service, and I'm running the free service right now, and actually it's all free because it's in beta, but I can run up to 3 workspaces. Think of each workspace as representing a bot itself. So I could have had a vision bot, a dental bot, a physical therapy bot, but I decided to combine them all together. So for this one, I'm going to create a workspace. I'm going to name it. Anybody want to give me a name for my bot? Don't be shy. Who? What was that? Codecamp? That's a cute bot name. We'll go with that. It really doesn't matter. It's just a label. OK. And then I'm going to click this Getting Started. And that takes me into, again, I told you there was no coding involved for the most part. This is my creating an entity screen, or intents screen. I wish they had picked 2 different words for that. You get them confused all the time. Intents, entities, and dialog. We're going to go through each one at a time to kind of understand what's going on. So for my intents, I'm going to go, I think I did coffee and pizza already. Maybe I'll go with register for a class. So, and my user might say, I need to register. My tab button's not working. It's class time. I forgot to register. I'm ready to pick my classes. And you need at least 5 of these at a minimum. And trust me, if you forget 5, it will remind you over and over again that it doesn't like that you haven't done 5. Anybody got another example? I need a class. Pizza's a better example. So now that I'm done, I have my intent. I also might run into a situation outside of this in which a user is simply doing the natural thing when you first meet somebody and saying hello. So one thing you want to take into consideration is some of the more basic actions, like hello, goodbye, what do you do? That's the biggest one we have. Is some people come to these bots and they're not quite sure what the bot is meant to do. So you want to have a conversation thread for those basic things that you keep coming back to. So I'm actually going to create one for about me. Get me to him. That would be a completely separate one at that point. What do you do? What are you for? What are my options? Why do you exist? What is your purpose? OK, now I'm going to go ahead and look at entities. So I'm registering for a class. That's going to be my first entity set. And I'm going to go ahead and organize my classes maybe by subject matter. So I can have an entity of subject. And I'll say science. That can be chemistry, physics. Apparently, I can't remember science. Biology, thank you. Anybody got another one? Astronomy? I took that in college, not ashamed at all. And we'll do language, so English, German, Spanish, French, Chinese. Actually, that'd probably be Mandarin, wouldn't it? And then maybe one more of, somebody tell me their major. Arts? That's a good one. Are we talking about the generic arts or actual art? OK, so we'll do English, visual, art. I have an arts degree. You'd think I'd be able to list more of these. What'd you say? Graphic design. Theater. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I've got a couple of entities. And sometimes it requires, there they go. Now we're to that bit where I was talking about dialogue. So once I have the foundation for this, I can start going. And what you're going to find yourself doing is you'll go back and forth from intents to entities to dialogue, and you'll test it, and you'll keep doing it again and again. And you may actually find that some of the phrases that you're using for the intents fit somewhere else. So you have the ability, we're going to train it too, where I can move my intents around and have a better conversation. So I'm going to start with my dialogue. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I recommend every dialogue within this service start with something we call a conversation start. It's a condition, so it's a built-in feature that will, whenever a user sends their initial message, it will pop back with this. So you can think of it, if I had a dialogue window sitting in the side of my web page, have a little pop-up, and the first message would be, "Hi, I'm here to help you." Very unobtrusive, but letting them know that the bot is there. It also helps you to route the user back and forth from the beginning of the conversation through different parts. So it's a nice little catch. An added feature, so what'll happen is I'll type in conversation start, and it recognizes that I've entered something that is neither an intent or an entity. So it gives me the option, if I want to create one right now. But what I'm actually going to use is the built-in condition here at the bottom. Some other things you can do with conditions are regular expressions. So I can validate input. That's what I did for my date field. So I have an extra catch beyond just my code to say, OK, is this date really how it's supposed to be? Because my MongoDB database is very particular about what it wants. I can also put in there basic if-then statements. I can say if a user has even given me anything. So if input exists. Conditions can be very powerful for helping you just simply validate what a user has entered. So I'm going to do the condition. Great thing about this particular condition is it creates that anything else section here at the bottom. So one thing you want to be able to do whenever you're having these conversations is you do not want the application to crash or hit a dead end. And by dead end, I mean the user is not getting any response back. You want, as much as possible, to have these anything else catches. It's a catch-all for everything. So if the user, I'm trying to do classes for this, if the user asks, I want to rent a movie, that's not what the bot does, but I do want to tell them, like, hey, I don't understand what you're asking. I meant to help you book classes. Is that what you meant? You can add these anything else sections throughout the dialogue. So if they give you an input that's out of scope, I still want to record that input. I still want to know that maybe they're asking for a class that isn't in my entities. But I also want to give them that instant feedback. So for the conversation start, I'm going to say, hi, I'm your CodeCamp buddy. I'm here to help you register for classes. And if I spelled classes right, that'd be great. And then with anything else, again, I'm going to say, I don't quite understand. You're asking. If you need it. And you'll also find yourself, as you're going, changing these messages. So one thing you really want to study is actually have this dialogue with somebody and see how they respond to it. Another thing you can add on to it is we actually have a tone analysis service. Start analyzing the tone of what they're saying. And if you find that they're getting really angry at one point in the conversation consistently, consider rewording the way you're talking to people. I can be very blunt. I can also be very stone-faced. That's not very warm and encouraging. So think about how you want to be talked at. Getting my verbiage wrong. And try to apply that in your conversation. You'll also find that most bots happen to be women. We're a lot nicer, I guess, than men. Haven't quite figured that one out. But most people tend to go for more female, more passive, not passive. I wouldn't characterize myself as passive, but just the conversation is not as blunt and to the point. You're having something a little bit more easygoing. Think about that buddy that you go have a beer with. You want to be that guy. So right now, I can actually go ahead and test out this beginning conversation. So with this service, I can just pop it out here on the right. And my first little message, hi, I'm your CodeCamp buddy, and I'm here to help you register for classes. So this is the first message I want users to see. I want them not to be too obtrusive, but I want them to be able to come and ask me for help, like your guidance counselor, like anybody of that nature. Now I can tell him, I need a car. I don't quite understand what you're asking for. Now, I haven't actually put in any of my intents or entities, but what it has tried to do is it recognized that I said, I need. Now, if you noticed when I was writing my user responses at the beginning, a lot of the statements started with, I need. So the service thinks that I might mean register, but it's routed me to the anything else because I don't have anything to handle registration. One thing you will notice when you start working with this service programmatically, or when you work with any of these services, is that there's a confidence level. So the natural language interpretation has decided from this that I might mean register. And what it's going to do is when I use it in my application, it's going to spit back a percentage at me that says, you know, I'm 30% confident that they mean they want to register. Well, to me, that's not good enough. I want 80% or higher. So one thing I can do in working with these conversations is if that confidence level drops below a certain amount, I can say just throw out the conversation and go back to my anything else. So with this thing, combining it with what you've described here and those confidence levels, I can better figure out what the user is trying to say. That's another reason to log your responses, because you really want to keep track of how well your bot is picking up on vernacular. It may. Let's see. Yeah, so it's trying to default to whatever one I have right now. It'll get stronger as you use words that were similar. So if we were to start adding more, you would notice that I need routes more thoroughly to register, and then great might route to something else. But since we only have one, it kind of defaults right now. So right now, because the service is in beta, all of it is done through this dashboard. In the next phase, they're going to be adding programmatic training, which means I can have my application tell it, start adding these intents and entities. But right now, most of it is done through me building it manually. Now, you can export your workspace as a JSON, and you can go ahead and edit it and try and populate it that way. But we don't have any built-in dictionaries right now. We just have the built-in conditions and the ability to understand regex and things like that. That answers your question. And I didn't repeat your question. Your question was, is there built-in libraries and dictionaries that are pre-populated? Not yet, but watch this space. OK. So this is a pretty boring conversation. Make it a little bit more intense. How about we add in register? OK, what subject are you registering for? All right. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to add my entity in here for subject. I'm going to say, OK, registering you for subject. Now, on the left-hand side, you may not be able to see because the lines are pretty thin. You see these brackets, right? It's a very visual display of the flow of conversation. I find when we did it before with the JSON trees, it's very hard to tell where these conversations are going to go. In this format, I know that if a user starts out, hitting the registration request, it'll go straight through this path. Now, can anybody see a problem right now with the path? Go for it. I cannot directly say the subject. Very good. So remember when I was talking about that long tail versus short tail? What if somebody asked me, I want to register for my foreign language course? I can tell you right now, it's not going to be able to get here because it's expecting to begin at register. So as you work through these conversations, you're going to start noticing situations like that where the user wants to get directly to the answer. So what you would simply do is you would add another block here at the bottom that would use register if it's for register, and you can use and or, and for language, route directly to this response. So we're going to test this out real quick. Another thing I can do, I don't really want to have to type that message in twice. So I'm going to use a continue from to move straight into the condition of subject, and it'll be able to print out what the subject is for me. So I can say continue from, click on subject. I want you to go to my condition. So it's going to have a subject listed in there. And I can see the link is now here. And if I ever click on this, it'll scroll up to where the condition is going to go to. So let's see if I can get this working. And sometimes it doesn't work. Let's remove that, see if I can get that working. All right, so I'm going to keep playing around with it. One thing you'll discover is that the language is very close, and so I have to keep working with it to get it to understand that I want to route straight through. But since I'm already at the what subject do you want to register for, I'm going to say German, and I'm registering you for language. So what it did is it mapped German to my entity of language, and then I echoed that out to the user to tell them what they selected. We're going to go a little bit more into more advanced topics as we build. Yes? In terms of like on top of each other? No, not at all. Right. You can think of it as just if you flipped it on its side, that's a better view. It's just from top down. It'll just pick whichever path it thinks is appropriate. And part of the training is, especially for my insurance example, that little bit where I was trying to do the and, I had to sit there and hammer at it like, okay, no, this is what I really mean. This is what I mean. Change the language up. And every time you add in a new branch, you'll find that a lot of your intents suddenly get a little muddled, so you have to re-manicure them again. So as different as you can make the intents, the easier your life will be. But if the entities start becoming the same across the board, then you have to really focus on the verbs people are using. All right, so what if I wanted to change this? So I said I need to register for German. I found that that didn't work. So one thing I can do is I can actually change the intent. So I'm going to name the intent register class. Actually, to do it from here. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to create a new intent. I need to register for German for my foreign language class. I want to take art this semester. Register me for what was the one we picked, biology. Register. That works. Ah, or RTS. We'll just keep that. That's fine. Okay, done. Sure.
So, for Alexa, there are slot values. So that, for instance, instead of saying I want to register for German, I want to register for Spanish, you just put I want to register for, and then you get Spanish, German, English, all those things would be a slot value. That seems to be a little different from entities that I'm trying to figure out. Seems like a different.
Right, so his question was, with Alexa, you have slot values, so you just start with I want to register for, and then it has the items. What I can actually do, I don't even have to put German in there. I could just say I want to register for, and then I would say I need to have the registration feature as well as the entity paired with it. So German, the slot value in this case is actually the entity, and so I would just pair it together. I like to do full sentences because it makes me feel happy and warm on the inside, but you could just cut it off right before you get to the noun if you wanted to. Right. You do want to be careful that you don't shorten it too much. So you don't want to have an entity that is simply I want, because you may find yourself using I want somewhere else, and then you have to go through the process of retraining it to understand that applies to. So the more you can qualify the user inputs, the better the entity will be that you form. Yes?
Is there an underlying system here that understands the English language? Because all the examples you just put in say, I want to register for.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody put in, I want to sign up for, is there an English model that would understand that sign up and register are closely related words?
So that is part of your user inputs, and I'll show you right now actually how you would do that.
So I have to explicitly code that, though. Do I?
You don't have to code it per se. Here, I'll show you real quick. So his thing was, is there an underlying English model to understand that register and sign up are the same thing? Now that's also in the entity section. If I wanted to create a registration entity, I would use synonyms of sign up, running out of words, but you know.
So that's what I'm getting to. Do you have to explicitly put the synonyms in?
Right.
Or is there an underlying English model behind all this that already understands synonyms, and you're just giving it enough examples that in that huge space of possibilities, you've narrowed it down, but once you get it narrowed down within the model, it understands that, even though you've never said sign up anywhere, it understands that sign up and register basically mean the same thing.
Right now, you have to give it the synonyms.
All right.
So it starts to slowly learn what the intent of the user is, but especially from the beginning, you have to say register, sign up, everything else, so that it starts to build its own. It starts to build its own dictionary of words, and then that's where the next phase, where you can programmatically train it to say, okay, here's my dictionary, and use that, or use the source as an input. The natural language classifier is used to break down what the user is saying and assign it to certain features.
So how does it learn that? Let's say we only put in register the word, and somebody came to me and said, I want to sign up. It's going to get kicked back that I don't understand what you want, and the person says, I want to register.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that the system is going to note that somebody asked for sign up, and then it got kicked out and responded by register, and over time the system will start to associate sign up and register? Or am I thinking too much?
Right, so I'll show it to you.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to show you. So his question was, how is it going to learn that? One thing, again, that goes back to my point about logging, is always log the user's requests, because then you can go back through and see what are the variations that are kicking these people to the wrong answer. Yeah. But then within the service itself, if I say I want to sign up for a course, you see how it says I don't quite understand, but it thinks I might mean register for a class? I can actually type in register here. And the service will now train itself. It'll basically take that line I gave it, I want to sign up for a course, and it'll put that in my user inputs. So from now on, anytime somebody uses I sign up, it'll associate that with the register intent. And that's where we get into, when you can programmatically do that, you would say, okay, if a user if my confidence is greater than, say, 70%, but they still got kicked back, add that user response to my dictionary. So
another follow-up question.
Okay.
About confidence. When you talk about 70% confidence, is that just a general figure of merit, or does that really mean that if 100 people came in with 70% confidence, 70% would be right and 30% would be wrong? In other words, is it really strictly a probability, or is it just sort of a figure of merit?
Confidence is based on, confidence itself is based on how well Watson thinks that these words match up to, in similarity to the words that are in my dictionary. So you could have 100, or you could have 20 users that all hit 70% confidence. That means that 70% of them happen to use a combination of words that aren't identical to my intent. So I want to register, that would be a 99 to 100% confidence. But if somebody says, I want to register today, there's a word variation in there that's going to drop the confidence down.
And so can I interpret that as a true probability, or do I just interpret that as a general figure of merit?
You don't want to have it all be the be-all, end-all, but if you get into a confidence level of, say, 20%, it's almost certain that whatever they're saying has nothing to do with what the intent is. Okay, so Watson's done training. Now I'm going to ask him again. And he routes straight to register. So that's how the training feature works. It takes a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes. In the back? That's the fun one. So you can put measures in place to correct the way they're typing, but if I completely mess this up, it's not like Google where it's going to autocorrect my intent because it's learned from me. You're going to have to kind of, you can add to your entities, sign up, S-I-N-G, sing up, and put that as a variation, but it requires judgment on that. That's, again, when you get into the confidence levels. If I had misspelled that, it would have kicked me down to the anything else, but it may have had like a 60% confidence that I wanted to register. So that requires some input on my part. The question was, I almost did a typo there. How do I handle that? And it's just working with kind of your common sense scenarios and then seeing what that bot puts out for you. So right now there's no foolproof method of dealing with the typo situation, other than doing that whole "is this what you actually meant" thing and going that way. Okay. So now that we have sort of gotten an idea of how these bots look, we did this working with the conversation start and anything else. I would stress, if you want to start working with this service, to kind of bullet point this slide because this is the most important one to me. And then we did a little testing with the bot. Now we're going to brainstorm our own bot, right? Okay, so one thing to take into consideration, a couple things to take into consideration, is scope. Do not scope creep. Do not make your bot do everything. That will take lots and lots of dialogue, and it will be very painful. So try and focus your bot on a certain area, a certain subject, a certain industry, and tailor it to that. Make it really good at a couple of things instead of marginally good at everything. You also want to kind of, as you're building these conversations, have a conversation with somebody else. Start talking with them. Ask them how they would have responded to something. As I went through earlier, I said, how would you order a coffee? Working with those variations on language and going at it that way. And then imagine how you would do things if there was never another human being in the world. How would I do things if I couldn't dial 0 on my phone and instantly get to tech support? And then you will better understand how best to serve your end user. So what we're going to do is, at the beginning, I know some may not have it anymore, we handed out some sticky notes and some pens to write with. Hopefully you still have them. If not, borrow them from a neighbor. I have a couple up here. And what I want you to do, we're going to brainstorm a bot that we're going to build up here on stage. And so what I want you to do is think about something that you think would be made easier if I had a bot. So who in here has ever had to call tech support? It's about half the room. OK. Who in here has ever had to resist yelling at them to get straight to level 2? Almost all of them. OK, so when I call tech support within my own company, I have to quickly utter out, OK, I've restarted the machine, I've flashed the device, I've done the firmware, I've done it. I have to get all of that out before they say one word, because otherwise I'm going to be stuck in the ultimate death loop of tech support. I'm going to say, take me straight to level 2. I don't need to go through all this stuff. Get me right there. Already I'm frustrated as a user. Now what if I could just go to a bot and say, listen, I've done this, this, and this. It checks it off in its little list, takes me straight to where I need to go. And maybe level 2 is another checklist that I can go through. And level 3 is when I actually talk to somebody. So approach your bot like that. Yesterday we built a bot to mix drinks. So we built a bartender bot. Maybe keep it a little bit more PG than that, but it's up to you. So just start jotting down ideas. We had ideas for a concierge to schedule meetings for them, a bot that could help them with fitness, a fitness tracker, somebody that would coach me into actually working out. I doubt a bot will ever encourage me to do that, but give it a shot. So think about something that you think would be made easier. Write down as many as you want. I'm going to come and pick them up and read them off. And then the top 3 ideas. I have some shirts up here that you can have. So I'm going to give one to the top 3 ideas, and then the top idea, which we all vote on, will be used to build our bot. We're going to build it together. And that is the part where if you wanted to follow along with me as we build the bot, this is where you would do it. Sounds good? Give everybody a few minutes. If you want to be really nice, you can save me the trouble of hurting my back by bringing the sticky note to me, but if not, I will come down to you. Oh, yeah, sure. Here you go.
Just one idea?
Oh, you can do 1, you can do 5. You basically write as fast and as furiously as possible until I come and tell you to stop. I think we had a whole wall when I did the session yesterday, which was a little cumbersome. Oh man, he's got like 8 down here. Oh, you're so great. Thank you. Schedule medical appointments. That's a good one. You only gotta do 1? You can do like multiple. Sky's the limit. Oh, I love you people getting up and helping me out here. That's fantastic. Oh, sorry. Let me get that. I don't know if this pin will actually write on this sticky, so if you have a pin, or if you want to trade somebody for a darker one. Okay, I'm actually going to get down now. This is the part where I disappear from the video. Oh, thank you. So we have pick a movie to see, bot to call tech support for users. Yeah, I don't think we still have one for that. Bot to order pizza. That's my favorite bot. Help me find the best tires to buy. Nice. How are you doing? Can I read them in public? Okay. Encouragement bot. That's the first. I haven't heard that one yet. Social bot for trolls. So is this meant to prevent cyberbullying?
Maybe actually just to find it and then say, give them an alternate word that's not what they're using.
Oh, so she says to find the trolls and then maybe give them a path out of the dark side. I like that. Don't be a troll, people. Wow, your handwriting is really nice. Given a name or topic, pull out recent info regarding that thing in social media. Okay, what would be the goal of that?
I don't know, it could be useful for like celebrities or something to just see like what is someone else talking about you.
So you want their personal PR agent, maybe.
Kind of.
That sounds good. Portfolio bot, explain skill set to recruiter. Okay, I take it you've been trying to get recruited. Are you bored? Talk something geeky. Got a little Geek Date Bot over here. A bot that helps you cite sources. Wow, that'd be great. Also remember as you're writing these, the difference I said between bots and chatbots. I think I'm getting really far away from my range here. Got one? Thinking?
I gave you one already.
Oh, you did,
No
yeah.
new ones, yeah.
Just. Wow.
You
You're my new best friend. Ooh, I'm close to something that's making noise. A bot to I'm going to start at the bottom. What telescope should I buy? You a big astronomy fan? That's astronomy, right? Not astrology. Okay.
Yes.
What people? I took that in school. I should know that.
What sign am I?
What people should I unfriend on Facebook? Pick the best shoes for me. All right. A bot to select t-shirt colors and designs. What toppings should I put on my baked potato? This man has $1 million idea right here. A bot to recommend a set of Chinese food dishes based on my ingredient preferences. A bot to recommend new phone apps based on what I already have. What you got over here? Bot screen. Bot screen bot. Can you explain? Screening the bots. Ah, okay, a bot to screen bots. What do you got? Oh, wow, stack. Copy data from my iPhone to iPhone 5 to 7. Okay, got that. You know, if you had an Android, you wouldn't have to do that. Just messing with you. Check out library books. Trip my foreign trips like TripIt. You did that on purpose, so I'd have to say that 3 times, didn't you? Buy gifts on Amazon. Schedule my meetings. Trade stocks for me. Oh boy. Okay, I shouldn't have never given you that marker. Maximize life performance. Oh, coaching. Optimize business workflows. Okay, cool. And I'm gonna, yeah, thanks. Anybody have any more? I'm gonna cut it off here in a second because I have a stack. Help me select a college major. Help me oh, that's a naughty subject. Help me choose a career. Menu planning. Help me find a task rabbit. Okay, cool. Let me pick mix-ins for an automatic ice cream. Man, you're just gonna have the food mecca over here. All right, last ones. Get Get price of XYZ stock on iPhone, restaurant reservation. Thank you for bringing that to me. Find mentors based on where you're heading career-wise. Okay. Joke bot to make fun of your worry. So one of my colleagues actually has made a joke bot, and she thinks it's terribly funny, and I don't. But
But if it's something you're worried about.
right. So if you're having a bad day, I like this. Or if you're worried about it. All right. So anybody else have last ones?
Watch it show you being unappreciative as you go through the chat box.
Show me being unappreciative.
Yeah, it didn't say, oh, you're getting frustrated.
No, it's no, but you can add the tone analysis to it, and you can supplement the information you're getting with how he was asking about, will it show if people are getting frustrated or not? So you can supplement tone analysis with that or sentiment to figure out kind of where the conversation is going.
Great joke, but say ironic.
I wish it said ironic.
Sarcasm.
Yeah, sarcasm. I don't think we have a sarcasm specific yet. Okay, so now that we have all these ideas, I'm going to quickly help us decide which ones to pick. So I'm gonna pick one. I'm gonna have two of you come up here and pick one each, and then we'll decide among those three who's the winner. You're not allowed to pick your own. That's mean. I want the baked potato bot actually. Where did it go? So we have. Normally we kind of mind map these, but because I don't really have an ability to do that, we're just gonna go straight through. So. Joke bot, find mentors based on where you're heading career-wise. There we go. Look at that. Regular MacGyver. I'm going to call this one food. Finance. More food. Task. What's a task rabbit? Is that a website? To do tasks for you. It's a website where you hire people to do tasks for you. I did not know that. That's fantastic. Menu planning, more food. Should we go with that one? Help me choose a career. That can go with this one. Help me select a college major. Finance. Hope you all like my impromptu whiteboard over here. Trade stocks for me, more finance. Trip my foreign trips. This is lifestyle. Check out library, we'll say that's lifestyle. Copy data from iPhone 7. That is, I don't have an Android problem. Bots to screen bots, we'll go with tech. New phone apps. Schedule medical appointments, we'll call that lifestyle. Site sources, that's actually kind of an outlier. Talk something geeky. Humor, portfolio bot to help. Given a name or topic, pull out recent info regarding that thing in social media. This kind of goes with site sources as well, so I like that. Social bot for trolls. It's lifestyle. Encouragement bot. I hope you're all memorizing these. Help me find the best tires to buy. It's lifestyle. Food, pizza. Tech support. Pick a movie. Telescope. Purchases. Facebook. Shoes. T-shirts. Man, you were on a roll. I should have slowed you down. Baked potato, that's the ultimate one. Somebody put a star on that one. Set of Chinese food dishes, more food. Lifestyle. Schedule my meetings. Tell me when to leave somewhere on time. Doesn't Google already do that? Okay, so I'm going with the baked potato bot just because nobody's ever suggested that before. And I'm a huge fan. So which size shirt are you, if you'd like one? Extra large. I only have extra large. But we could maybe tie two together. Okay. And then 2 people. Let's see how good my throwing arm is. This is going to be on camera, so everybody gets to laugh at me. Yes! That is on film, right? Yes. That's the only time that's ever going to happen. I cannot repeat that. OK, so I'm going to invite 2 more of you up here to pick one off that wall of stuff. Pick one for me. And you, m'lady. And then we'll do a show of hands who wants to build one of the 3. Oh, wow. I tried to order them, but it just devolved into chaos after a while, so. I don't know, but I can find out. I would assume yes. It would help a lot, I think. Well, there's a lot of demand in general across the board to have these just static libraries about, what are coffees, what are foods, what are all these things. So there's quite a bit of demand for it. It's just a matter of, how do we make those libraries, and then how much of that do you allow users to populate? So to the point on the trolls that she was making, you give people all the power, and they'll completely destroy your data. So it would help if we had user input, but how much of that can we give? That's a question across the board. It not local to IBM. Right, so his question was, when you go to populate the dialogues, would it help to have a flowchart? Absolutely. Literally, that visual you get with the dialogue, where it's, sorry about that, where it's kind of flowing through, it really helps to start out brainstorming on the board and working through it. Did you pick?
I think they would be relatively easy.
Well, thank you. So the other 2 options, so to finish your question, as much time as you can spend whiteboarding your conversations and really sit in a room of varied users. So not only have an example end user, but get some outliers in there and have them start, read the question and then write what their response would be. And that way you can, without having to worry about even starting to work with the service, you can understand where some of your pain points are and how to start brainstorming how to work around them programmatically. So our other 2 suggestions were, let me pick mix-ins for an automatic ice cream server. Since you already have a shirt, I'm not getting you a second one. Do you pick this one? Yeah, I did. Would you like a shirt? Yeah. Small? Yeah, figured. But good to know that you are the idea man for bots. And then the other one was check out library books. Anybody want to own up to that one? That was you? What size shirt are you? Large. All right. Let's see if I can go for round 2. Oh, yes. My father would be so proud I finally picked up sports. It's a large. I'm getting a little tired here, so if this one doesn't happen, nobody laugh. Whee.
Whoa, thanks.
Look at that. OK, so as we said, check out library books, mix-ins for make your own ice cream, I'm going to call it that, and then baked potato. All in favor of baked potato, say aye. All of you that didn't say aye are just horrible people. All in favor of library books, say aye.
Aye.
Somebody actually finally said aye, thanks. And then ice cream. Baked potato it is. Well, there's some hesitant. You can. Okay, let's do this one more time. Baked potato. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Ice cream. Baked potato. Okay, cool. This is the audience participation portion of Dinner and a Movie. All right, so now we're going to get into more advanced topics. You saw a little bit of that when I was doing the @ symbol and I was echoing what subject they picked. This time we're actually going to use something called the context object. And in any situation, I don't just want to have a generic conversation. I want to be able to pass things back and forth. This goes back to remembering things about people. So what I do is, you remember there was just a white text box for the Watson response. I'm going to switch it into advanced mode. And there I can use my nice little JSON tree. So when I said there was no coding, I technically lied. You have to deal with one of these things. And I can store things like, in this example, a username of Jane Doe, which means later on in the conversation, I can echo their name back to them and add that personalization element. What you're doing with these context objects and with this conversation, I like to call it is turning a user into their own SQL search builder. So all I'm doing is trying to get them to figure out where they want to go, by having a conversation about it. And in most cases, I'm getting them to sort through my database for me without me having to build the SQL statements myself. We also talked a little bit about recall when I did the at the subject. Here it's an at for coffee. And then this little bit right here, which is probably too small to read, is I'm basically recalling that username so that it says, I'll get that latte in for you, Jane Doe. So instead of just saying, I'm going to get that latte, or I'm going to get your order for you, which is very generic, I've not only told them that I heard and understood what they said, but that I know who they are. So these are the this is also a pretty good slide to keep a hold of. These are the different ways to recall things. So I can actually directly echo what they said, which is input.text, or I can just recall specific variables in the dialog. We went over earlier about looping back to a condition so that I don't have to repeat myself or have to worry about keeping things concurrently updated. So that's what this loopback is about. All right, so let's build that bot. And hopefully I can build it fast. So I'm going to go ahead, back out. We're going to create a new bot. He is Baked Potato Master. I think yesterday I had a wizard, so I'm going to get started. I'm going to create an intent. We're going to try and create at least 2 intents. Anybody want to give me an intent for my baked potato maker? I'm sorry? Temperature? Let's go a little bit broader. What would a user ask if they wanted to initiate a conversation about potatoes? Put it in the oven. We'll go with that one. Cook. Make me a potato. I'm hungry. My food is cold. My good is cold. Okay, food is cold. Nom, nom, nom. I'm ready to eat. Okay, let's create a second intent, and this one we might want to focus on something like picking the toppings for the baked potato. So I'm going to go ahead and create an intent that is simply for pick toppings, choose toppings, whatever you want. I'd like sour cream. Very good. Potato Man in the back has got this. Spice it up for me. No butter, please. I hate plain potatoes. Add a little flavor for me. And again, these are nonsensical user entries. You kind of want to think about these a little bit more than I am. And I'm maybe going to add one more for greeting. Hello. Hi, Potato Master. What's up, Potato Man? Hi. Hey. How are you? Actually, so that's a good point. So this is a greeting, and it's meant to initiate. You also want to think about what the response is. So if somebody says hi, I would want my bot to say, hi, I'm here to help you. But if they ask me, how are you, that's a different intent, right? So I would want to create a conversation specific to them asking about how I'm doing. And I very much encourage, when you create these bots, to think about those off-topic conversations, like, how are you? My insurance bot actually handles somebody asking if she's single, because why not? So think about those. We have 5. That's good enough for me. Now I'm going to need an entity. I guess toppings, right? That's the intent of our baked potato. So we're going to go with toppings. Bacon, bacon bits, pig meat, salty pig meat. I'm running out of synonyms. Pig flesh. This is getting really gross. We're just going to end it there. And how about sour cream, crema, sour stuff. Anybody got a synonym for sour cream that somebody might say? White stuff. And then maybe greens, so I'll say chives, parsley, basil, cilantro. People put cilantro on potatoes? That sounds disgusting. I can have the no toppings. So all I have to do is say none, no toppings, nada, zilch, zip. And I can just, oh, I didn't say that. Okay, that's good. Okay. So with the entities, you just want to keep in a realm of what specific responses you're wanting. So none is very much a choice. So is green, so is, I just want to know what I'm routing to. So when I send their order to my baked potato maker, I want that person to know specifically what they're asking for. And I would put a catch in there to say, you know, if it's these toppings, go this direction. If they say none, you know, go this path. And thinking about that there. So I'm going to create my dialog. Again, I'm going to do the conversation start. And I apologize to everybody that was going to follow along. I'm almost out of time, so I skipped past that. And what do we want him to say? Just throw a phrase out there. Got to get really comfortable with random words. I'm here to bake a potato for you. And then we have our anything else. I'm going to say I only bake potatoes, man. Try again. And then what I'm also going to do in the conversation start is I'm going to go into advanced mode. And I want to store the user's name. Now, this is actually something that when you start integrating this into an application, you would want to pass that information. The user can also add things to the context themselves. The client can add things to the context. But in this case, I'm just going to store it within our dashboard here so we can see how it works. So I'm going to say context, username. What's your name, sir? Jim. Since you are the potato master. Who said thank you? That's cute. Okay, and then we're going to do greeting. Let's make some potatoes. So if somebody says, hey, I want to handle that. And then we're also going to do maybe, and again, because I want to hit short tail, I'm starting at the beginning for all of these. So we're going to do cook. All right, let's get that potato started. What toppings would you like? And then I can say toppings. In this case, we're just going to use one, but we can make it more complicated. Sure. Toppings sound tasty. So this is that echo. I have the ability to echo back what the user has picked. So if they say bacon bits, it's going to route back and print bacon. So in some cases, you want to maybe echo the user input, but a lot of times they like to add extra words. So I don't want to say, you know, they're going to say, I want some bacon bits, please. I don't want to say, sure, I want some bacon bits, please. Sounds tasty. Yes? Yeah, sure, none sounds tasty. Yeah, okay, actually, that's a great use case. So unfortunately, she said, sure, none sounds tasty would be interesting. So in that case, because I don't want to kick off the none, good point. Yeah, you know what? I think I put something else. Entities, dialog, cook, doing this, toppings, strange, something strange is happening. We'll worry about that in a second. Sure, topping sounds tasty. And then also I want to handle the, and actually, now that I'm further along in the conversation, I can echo back their name to them. So I'm going to echo back username. And then I'll also say, what was my other option? Pick toppings. There it goes. And I'm going to say toppings. All right, I'll get that potato ready with toppings. Okay, well, let's see how well I did. Okay, so we're sorting out our conversation, right? I'm here to bake a potato for you. I'm going to say hello. Hey, let's make some potatoes. Okay, so we know that one works. Fantastic. I'm going to say my food is cold. All right, let's get that potato baking. What toppings would you like? Bacon. Sure, bacon sounds tasty, Jim. Sounds good to me, right? Let's see if I can get my short tail working. I want a potato with bacon. And I'm going to reset this to pick toppings. And he'll train. We may not have enough time to watch him train. But all right, well, that is a very long and packed introduction to working with not only bots, but with our Watson Conversation service. Now, what do I do next? While he's training, I may be able to come back to him. So next steps. Connect it to an app. That's really where the brains are at. And like I said, you can use the dashboard to work through your training model so you don't have to constantly redeploy. But you really want to start working with code itself. I have a very, very basic built-in 15 minutes Node.js application out there that's a basic screen that you can start testing bots with and sending data back and forth. And I have information in there on how to append the username to the context object. Also connects with, an actual robot. So combine your conversation with Alexa, with a drone that has speech capabilities. Connect it with a phone. Start having a little phone bot to do things. And then always, of course, I can't emphasize this enough, store your responses. Data is the next commodity. So store your responses, see what people are saying, get a better understanding about language. If you'd like to connect it, as mentioned, we went with the Manage tab, but you'll find the credentials. So it's a regular API key. So you just send it your text and a context if it exists, and it'll come back with a response and those confidences and other information like that. I decided not to go into the coding too much, so you get to play around a little bit more. If you have any more questions, feel free to hit me up afterwards, but that's it for conversation. Thanks, everybody.